Throughout history, humans have always sought out ways to pass the time and entertain themselves, but not always in ways we might expect. From ancient civilization to modern times, people have embraced hobbies and pastimes too strange, unusual, or downright bizarre that they can leave us scratching our heads today. Whether driving by curiosity, tradition, or pure whimsy, these odd hobbies reveal just how creative and unpredictable human nature can be when it comes to fun. In today's video, we will look at some hobbies from history that seems fake. But before we start, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Thank you. During the Victorian era, feather collecting became a surprisingly popular and sometimes extravagant hobby. People, especially women, developed a fascination with gathering exotic feathers from all over the world to use in their fashion and home decoration. Feathers from birds like ostriches, peacocks, and birds of paradise were highly prized, often adorning elaborate hats, fans, and gowns. This obsession wasn't just about style, it became a status symbol that showed off wealth and worldliness. Feather collecting sparked a booming trade, with hunters and traders traveling far and wide to supply these delicate treasures. However, this craze also had a darker side. Some bird species were hunted almost to extinction just to satisfy the demand for their beautiful feathers. Despite the environmental cost, feather collecting during the Victorian era perfectly illustrates how a seemingly simple hobby can capture the imagination of an entire society and influence fashion, commerce, and even wildlife conservation debates. In the 19th century, postmodern photography was a common but deeply unusual practice that might seem unsettling to us today. Families would have portraits taken of their deceased loved ones as a way to remember and honor them. Since photography was still new and expensive, these images were often the only lasting pictures the family had of someone who had passed away. Photographs would carefully pose the deceased, sometimes even propping them up to appear as if they were peacefully sleeping or alive. Eyes might be painted onto closed eyelids, and the setting was often made to look serene and comforting. For many, these photos served as cherished keepsakes during a time when death was a more constant and visible part of daily life. Though it may feel strange now, postmodern photography was a heartfelt way for grieving families to hold on to memories, celebrate their loved ones, and find some comfort in loss during an era with limited means of preserving personal history. In the 1800s, a bizarre and macabre trend swept through the wealthy European society known as mummy unwrapping parties. These events were social gatherings where aristocrats and curious guests would come together to watch and sometimes participate in the unwrapping of Egyptian mummies. Fueled by fascination with ancient Egypt and exotic, these parties combined entertainment, scientific curiosity, and the touch of spectacle. The mummies, often acquired by collectors or museums, were carefully bi-layered in front of an audience eager to glimpse the mysteries of the past. What might seem shocking today was seen back then as a glamorous and educational event, blending archaeology with high society's appetite for the unusual. While these unwrapping parties offer some insight into ancient burial practices, they also reflected a lack of respect for the cultures and people whose remains were being treated like curiosities. In a time when medical knowledge was limited and often misguided, some people took an unusual approach to health and even made by a hobby out of it. Bloodletting clubs were groups where members gathered to practice and debate the merits of bloodletting, a medical procedure believed to balance the body's humors by releasing bad blood. These clubs combined a mix of serious medical discussion with a social element, as members would perform or witness bloodletting on themselves or volunteers, believing it promoted health and longevity. Bloodletting was so common that it wasn't just a treatment. It became ritual and for some, a shared pastime. While today we know bloodletting was often harmful and based on incorrect theories, these clubs highlight how people historically sought control over their health, even when the science was far from accurate. It's a strange and sometimes chilling glimpse into the past, where medicine, belief, and social life were deeply intertwined. In centuries past, collecting hair from famous people was a surprisingly popular and deeply personal hobby. Fans and admirers prized strands of hair from celebrities, royalty, and historical figures as precious keepsakes, believing these small tokens connected them to greatness or fame. Hair was carefully preserved in lockets, framed displays, or even woven into jewelry like bracelets and rings, turning it into a form of intimate memorabilia long before photos or autograph collecting became widespread. Some collectors famous short hair from figures like composers, writers, or monarchs, cherishing these tangible pieces of history. This unusual fascination speaks to humanity's timeless desires to hold on to the presence of those we admire, to feel closer to them in a physical way. While it might seem odd today, hair collecting was once a meaningful way to honor and remember influential people. In ancient and medieval times, doctors and healers used some unusual methods to diagnose illnesses. One of the strangest being urine testing. Believe it or not, the taste of a patient's urine was considered an important clue to their health. Physicians would sample the urine to detect sweetness, bitterness, or other flavors, each believed to indicate different medical conditions. For example, a sweet taste might suggest diabetes, while other flavors could hint at infections or imbalances into the body's humors. This practice was part of a broader medical tradition that relied heavily on sensory observation, long before modern lab tests and microscopes. Though it sounds shocking to us today, urine testing was a practical tool for early doctors trying to understand disease with the limited resources they had. It highlights just how creative and sometimes bizarre medical diagnosis used to be. So, how did you like today's video? Comment below and tell us which weird things from history you want to know next. See you with another new video. Thanks for watching.